Deep in the high desert of Nevada, where sagebrush stretches toward jagged mountain peaks and the wind carries whispers of a wilder time, stands a sandstone building that once held the key to America's silver empire. The Carson City Mint, now quietly serving as the Nevada State Museum, represents one of the most remarkable chapters in the story of the American West, a place where raw ore from the earth transformed into the currency of a growing nation. To understand the Carson City Mint, we must first journey back to June 1859, when two Irish prospectors, Peter O'Reilly and Pat McLaughlin, were digging along the eastern slope of Mount Davidson in what would soon become Virginia City. They were searching for gold, like thousands of others drawn to the Nevada territory by rumors of riches. What they found instead would change the course of American history. As they dug deeper into the mountainside, they encountered a frustrating blue-black clay that clogged their rockers and made separating gold nearly impossible. Most miners would have cursed this stubborn material and moved on, but when samples were finally assayed, the truth emerged in a moment that must have stolen the breath from everyone present. This troublesome clay wasn't an obstacle to wealth, it was wealth itself. The blue-black substance was silver sulfide, and it existed in concentrations so rich they defied belief. The discovery sparked what became known as the Comstock Lode, named after Henry Comstock, a Canadian miner who managed to attach his name to the claim despite having little to do with the actual discovery. The Comstock Lode would prove to be the largest silver deposit ever found in the United States. Within months, thousands of prospectors flooded into the barren Nevada hills, scrambling over each other to stake claims. Virginia City, which had been nothing more than a few scattered tents, exploded into a thriving metropolis of 25,000 souls, complete with opera houses, hotels, and all the vices and virtues that accompanied frontier boomtowns. The Nevada Territory, which had barely existed on the national consciousness, suddenly became the focus of intense interest from Washington. But the silver posed a problem. The ore from the Comstock wasn't pure, it was mixed with gold and required sophisticated processing. More critically, once refined into bullion, it had to be transported across the treacherous Sierra Nevada mountains to San Francisco, where the nearest mint could transform it into coins. The journey was dangerous, expensive, and an open invitation to bandits who prowled the mountain passes. Mine owners watched helplessly as their profits drained away in shipping costs and losses to theft. Every bar of silver that left Nevada represented money flowing out of the territory's economy. Politicians and businessmen in Nevada recognized that they needed their own mint. The lobbying began almost immediately after the Comstock discovery. On March 3, 1863, Congress finally authorized the establishment of a branch of the United States Mint in the Nevada Territory. The timing was no coincidence. The Civil War was raging, and the Union desperately needed the silver and gold from Nevada's mines to help finance the war effort. Just over a year later, in October 1864, Nevada achieved statehood despite having a population far below the usual requirement, rushed into the Union so its mineral wealth and electoral votes could support President Lincoln and the Union cause. The Nevada Territory's transformation into a state gave the Mint project additional legitimacy and urgency. The question became where to build this mint. Virginia City, perched precariously on the side of Mount Davidson and prone to fires, was deemed too risky. Instead, attention turned to Carson City, a small settlement about 15 miles north of Virginia City in Eagle Valley. The man most responsible for Carson City's very existence was about to play the central role in bringing the mint to life. Abraham Curry, known to everyone as Abe, had arrived in the Nevada Territory in 1858 with 3 partners. When they found real estate prices in the established town of Genoa too expensive, they purchased 865 acres in Eagle Valley for a total of $1,000, putting down just $300 in coins. Curry's partners soon lost interest in the venture, essentially giving their shares to Curry for token payments, including, famously, 22 pounds of butter and a pony. Curry possessed the vision to see what Eagle Valley could become. He surveyed and platted a town, named it Carson City after the nearby Carson River and the legendary scout Kit Carson, and donated 10 acres in the center of town for a future state capital. This wasn't mere generosity, it was strategic genius. By ensuring Carson City would become the territorial and then state capital, Curry guaranteed the town's importance and his own investment's value. The gamble paid off spectacularly. When Congress authorized the mint in 1863, Curry was named one of 3 planning commissioners. His role quickly expanded. By July 1866, when groundbreaking ceremonies took place, Curry had become superintendent of construction. The building that would rise from the Nevada soil was designed by Alfred B. Mullet, who had just been appointed supervising architect of the Department of the Treasury. The Carson City Mint was Mullet's first major project in his new role, and he approached it with careful attention despite the building's relatively modest scale. The structure measured just 58 feet by 88 feet, constructed from rough-faced sandstone in a simple Renaissance revival style, with pairs of round-headed windows and a central portico. The stone came from Curry's own quarry at Warm Springs, worked by prisoners from the state prison, where Curry also served as warden. Construction progressed slowly through the late 1860s, hampered by insufficient appropriations and the enormous costs of labor and materials in the remote Nevada territory. Everything had to be shipped across vast distances, and skilled workers commanded premium wages. Yet when Mullet personally inspected the building in 1869, he expressed surprise and satisfaction at what had been accomplished under such difficult circumstances, calling it one of the most faithfully and economically constructed buildings in the United States. Meanwhile, critical machinery was making an epic journey from the East Coast. In Philadelphia, the firm of Morgan & Orr manufactured Coin Press No. 1, a state-of-the-art steam-powered machine capable of striking 100 coins per minute. The massive 6-ton press was loaded onto a ship that sailed down the Atlantic coast, crossed the Isthmus of Panama by rail before the canal existed, then continued up the Pacific coast to San Francisco. From there, it traveled by the newly completed Central Pacific Railroad to Reno, and finally by wagon the remaining distance to Carson City. The press arrived in late 1868 and was carefully installed in the new Mint building, where it sat waiting as final preparations continued. The building was completed on December 13th, 1869, but the Mint wasn't ready to begin operations. Personnel had to be hired, procedures established, additional equipment installed. President Ulysses S. Grant appointed Curry as the Mint's first superintendent in April 1869, recognizing both his instrumental role in the building's construction and his standing in the community. Finally, in February 1870, everything came together. Curry stood in the Mint as Coin Press No. 1 roared to life, steam hissing through its mechanisms. The first coin struck at the Carson City Mint was a seated Liberty silver dollar. As the press stamped the small letters CC onto that first coin, designating its origin at Carson City, Curry must have felt the weight of accomplishment. He had helped build not just a building, but a crucial piece of America's monetary infrastructure. By the end of 1870, the Mint had produced 92,791 coins combining gold and silver denominations. It was a modest beginning, but production would increase in subsequent years. The Mint's operation was labor-intensive. Raw bullion arrived from the nearby mines, assayed to determine its precise composition, then melted and refined to proper standards. The molten metal was poured into molds to create bars of exact weight and purity. These bars were rolled into sheets of the correct thickness, and circular blanks were punched from these sheets. The blanks were then fed into the coin presses, which struck them with tremendous force to create the raised designs on both sides. Each coin bearing the CC Mint mark passed through many hands and multiple quality checks before entering circulation. The Mint's most eventful year came in 1873, when the federal government made sweeping changes to the nation's monetary system. This resulted in different varieties of coins being produced, creating confusion that would fascinate collectors for generations. Among the coins struck that year was a dime that would become legendary. Of the 12,400 dimes minted in 1873 without arrows beside the date, only one is known to survive today. This single coin sold at auction for $1.8 million, testament to both its rarity and the enduring fascination with Carson City coinage. The year 1876 brought celebration and peak production. As America commemorated its centennial, the Comstock Lode reached its maximum output, and the Carson City Mint struck more coins than in any other year in its history. The timing seemed almost providential, as if the nation's birthday and Nevada's mineral bounty had conspired to create a perfect moment. That same year, production from Comstock mines exceeded $35 million in gold and silver combined, with the Carson City Mint working at full capacity to transform this wealth into coins. If you're enjoying this journey into the forgotten corners of American history, make sure to subscribe to our channel. We're dedicated to uncovering the stories that textbooks overlook, bringing you deep dives into the places, people, and events that shaped our nation in unexpected ways. Life at the Mint settled into a rhythm through the 1870s and early 1880s. Workers arrived each morning to the sounds of machinery, the heat of furnaces, and the metallic smell of molten silver and gold. The Mint employed dozens of people in various capacities, from assayers and coiners to clerks and guards. Security was paramount, given the valuable metals constantly moving through the facility. The sandstone building in Carson City became a vital link in the chain connecting Nevada's underground wealth to the pockets of citizens across America. In 1874, James Crawford became superintendent, beginning a 10-year tenure that would prove crucial to the Mint's success. Crawford navigated the complex politics of Washington while maintaining productive relationships with local mine owners. His leadership helped ensure the Mint's continued operation, even as silver prices fluctuated and political winds shifted. When Crawford died in 1885, the Mint lost its most influential advocate in Washington, and the consequences would soon become apparent. The mid-1880s brought the first serious threat to the Mint's existence. Political considerations, particularly tensions between Republican and Democratic administrations, combined with declining silver production from aging Comstock mines, put the facility in jeopardy. When Democrat Grover Cleveland assumed the presidency in 1885, the Mint's operations were suspended. The doors closed in the middle of 1885, the presses fell silent, and Carson City watched anxiously as months stretched into years. The building sat quiet from 1885 until October 1889, a period of over 4 years when the only sounds inside were the echoes of footsteps and the settling of the structure. When a Republican administration returned to power, the Mint reopened in October 1889. There was hope that this marked a permanent return to operation, that the CC Mint mark would continue appearing on American coins indefinitely. Production resumed with enthusiasm, the presses once again transforming Nevada silver into dollars and other denominations. But the revival was short-lived. By spring of 1893, it became clear that the declining output from Comstock mines could no longer justify keeping the Mint operational. In April 1893, coin press number 1 struck its final coins. The machinery fell silent for the last time. The Carson City Mint's active life as a coin-producing facility had ended after just 21 years of actual operations spread across a 23-year period. The building didn't disappear, however. It continued serving as an assay office from 1895 to 1933, testing and certifying the purity of gold and silver, even though no coins were being struck. In 1809, the facility officially lost its status as a mint, but its importance to Nevada's mineral economy persisted. Workers continued analyzing precious metals, maintaining the connection between Nevada's mines and the national economy, even as the great Comstock Bonanza faded into memory. By the 1930s, even the assay office had closed. The building faced an uncertain future. In 1939, the federal government sold the structure to the state of Nevada for the sum of $10,000. This modest transaction saved a piece of history from potential demolition. Nevada recognized the building's significance and, after renovations, opened it as the Nevada State Museum in October 1941, appropriately on Nevada Day. The old Mint had found new purpose as a guardian of Nevada's heritage. The transformation into a museum preserved not just the building but many of its original functions and equipment. Most remarkably, coin press number 1 survived. After the Mint closed in 1893, the press was shipped back to Philadelphia and converted from steam power to electricity. It was then sent to San Francisco and operated there for years. In the 1950s, when the U.S. Mint modernized its equipment, coin press number 1 was marked for scrap, A San Francisco resident noticed the builder's plate indicating the press's origin and contacted the Nevada State Museum. The museum purchased their original coin press for just $225 and brought it home to Carson City in 1959. But the story of coin press number 1 didn't end with its return to Carson City. During the Kennedy administration in the early 1960s, America faced a serious coin shortage. Eva Adams, director of the United States Mint and a Nevada native, remembered the old press sitting in the museum. She contacted museum officials with an unusual request. Could the government borrow the antique press to help alleviate the coin shortage? The museum agreed, and coin press number 1 was sent to Colorado for modernization before being installed at the Denver Mint. From 1965 to 1975, this historic press proved it still had productive years ahead. During its stint in Denver, it minted 118 million coins, including 50 million pennies. Few pieces of machinery can claim such a remarkable working life, spanning over a century and producing everything from 19th century silver dollars to modern pennies. In 1975, when the coin shortage had eased, coin press number 1 finally returned home to Carson City for good. Today it sits in the former Mint building, the only coin press from that era still in operational condition. The museum demonstrates the press regularly, and visitors can purchase commemorative medallions struck on the same machine that produced America's first Carson City coins in 1870. When the press operates, the heavy clank of metal on metal echoes through the building just as it did over 150 years ago, a living connection to Nevada's Silver Age. The coins produced at the Carson City Mint between 1870 and 1893 have achieved legendary status among collectors. The CC Mint mark, those 2 small letters stamped onto each coin, represents rarity, history, and the romance of the Old West. Morgan silver dollars from Carson City are particularly prized. In the early 1970s, the General Services Administration discovered nearly 2.8 million Morgan dollars in government storage vaults, many bearing the CC Mint mark. These were sold to collectors in 7 successive sales between 1972 and 1980, creating tremendous excitement in the numismatic community and cementing the Carson City Mint's reputation. Total production from the Mint reached nearly $50 million in face value, combining gold and silver coins. In modern terms, considering both inflation and the collectible premium these coins now command, the value is astronomical. But the numbers tell only part of the story. These coins represent a unique moment in American history, when the western frontier was still wild, when Nevada's mines seemed inexhaustible, and when a small sandstone building in the desert town played a crucial role in the nation's economy. The personal stories connected to the Mint add human dimension to the history. Abraham Curry, the founding father of Carson City and the Mint's first superintendent, died in October 1873. The Mint closed for the day in his honor, and his funeral was the largest Carson City had ever seen. Despite his many accomplishments and the important role he played in Nevada's development, Curry's widow claimed he had only $1 in his pocket when he died. The legend, perhaps apocryphal, captures something essential about the frontier spirit. Men built empires and left behind monuments, but personal wealth often proved elusive. Henry Comstock, whose name adorns the greatest silver discovery in American history, fared even worse. He sold his mining claims early for $11,000, a sum that seemed substantial, but proved to be a tiny fraction of the lode's true value. The money slipped away, and Comstock wandered from Nevada to Oregon to Montana, prospecting without success. On September 27, 1870, the same year the Carson City Mint struck its first coins from silver bearing his name. Henry Comstock put a gun to his head and ended his life. He died broke and forgotten, while the lode made fortunes for others. The men who did grow wealthy from the Comstock, the so-called Bonanza Kings, including John William Mackay, James Graham Fair, James Flood, and William O'Brien, achieved riches beyond imagination. In 1873, they discovered the Big Bonanza, the richest ore body in the entire Comstock Lode. Their consolidated Virginia and California mines produced spectacular wealth, and these men became titans of the Gilded Age. The architectural influence lost everything. The Comstock created and destroyed fortunes with equal ease. The architectural influence of the Mint building extended beyond its function. The simple Renaissance Revival design became a model for other important structures in Carson City. The Nevada State Capitol, built in 1869 to 1871, the State Printing Office from 1885 to 1886, and the Old Post Office from 1891 all drew inspiration from the Mint's rough federal building had a statural vocabulary. Today, for the Nevada State Museum can walk the same floors, weighed precious metals and struck coins. The basement features a recreation of a Nevada mine, allowing people to experience the dark, cramped conditions where the silver was first torn from the earth. Upstairs exhibits trace Nevada's natural and cultural history, from prehistoric mammals to Native American cultures to the mining boom and beyond. The former vault rooms, where bars of gold and silver once waited under heavy guard, now house artifacts and displays. The building itself is the largest artifact, a stone testament to an era when Nevada's silver helped finance a nation, and when Carson City briefly stood at the center of America's monetary universe. The Carson City Mint represents more than just a chapter in numismatic history. It embodies the rapid transformation of the American West, the boom and bust cycles that defined frontier economies, and the crucial role that mineral wealth played in the nation's development. The Mint's brief operational life, just 21 years spread across 2 decades, produced coins that continue circulating in the collector market today, each one carrying the story of Nevada's silver empire. As you stand before the old sandstone building in Carson City, it's easy to imagine the scene in February 1870 when Abraham Curry watched the first coins emerge from coin press number 1. The steam hissing, the metal clanking, the weight of history being made one coin at a time. The building stands today not as a monument to forgotten glory, but as a living museum where the past remains accessible. Coin press number 1 still operates, still strikes medallions, still connects the present to that silver-mad era when 2 small letters, CC, signified Nevada's contribution to the nation's coinage and commerce. The story of the Carson City Mint reminds us that history isn't only made in capitals and major cities. Sometimes the most significant developments occur in unlikely places, in small towns in high deserts where vision and opportunity intersect. The Mint's legacy endures not just in the coins scattered across America, in collections and safe deposit boxes, but in the building itself, preserved and purposefully reused as a guardian of Nevada's history. Every visitor who watches coin press number 1 in operation, every collector who holds a Carson City coin, every person who learns about the Comstock Lode and the mint that transformed its silver into currency, participates in keeping this history alive. If this deep dive into forgotten American history resonated with you, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. We're constantly exploring the overlooked corners of our past, bringing you stories that deserve to be remembered. The Carson City Mint may have been forgotten by many, but its story continues to shine like silver in the Nevada sun, waiting for those curious enough to discover it.